somewhere around 4 to 6 months prior to the start of your budget cycle, you want to update your productivity targets and your productivity comparatives. And by using this information and understanding where each individual department is compared to the median of comparative hospitals, compared to better performing, compared to best practice, allows you to identify potential opportunities for change. And as you identify those potential opportunities for change, you can utilize that information to help guide your budget process. The easiest way to use a productivity target or a productivity report or number for your budget planning process is to understand the gaps between that comparative data, and then ask each of your managers to make small improvements towards a goal for the next year. Now, in the case if you have a department, maybe they're performing below the median, their goal may actually be a 10% improvement. Whereas if you have an individual department that's between the median and better performing, it might be a 5% improvement. So scaling it based off of where the department actually is performing allows you that opportunity to take the departments that have larger gaps and focus efforts with them to identify opportunities for process change that might be larger, and really not do as much with the best practice facilities, except maybe small minor changes here and there. So the number one way to use the information for the budget is to start with identifying the gaps and the goals, and then use that to really build out your target budget goal for each department.
I think you bring up a good point of using the department's performance year to date over the course of that fiscal year to help drive the budget for the upcoming year. When we work with our clients, those that haven't been using our productivity or ION reports for budgeting, and they are going off of what they've done historically, oftentimes they use a flat budget. So, I had 10 FTEs last year, I'm going to have 10 FTEs this year. Well, are they the right 10 FTEs? Do those 10 FTEs match your volume? Do they match volume projections? Or we see organizations, especially, I would say historically, we would see more organizations budget based off of projections, obviously, but those projections don't come to fruition. So here we are 6 months into the year, a department is under budget FTEs maybe by 5 because the volume projections were a 10% volume increase, and it didn't come to fruition. In fact, maybe volume even slid back a little bit. And so now, where in the past we may have said, I'm under budget by 5 FTEs, I need those 5 FTEs in next year's budget. Well, hold on, nope, your volume adjusted FTEs aren't saying that. So using that recommended FTE, that volume adjusted, volume driven FTE to help determine your budget for the next year is really the appropriate way to do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Variable budgets are really the most appropriate way to actually budget in most situations. Static budgets are just that, they're static, and they're not really adapting to what's actually occurring within the hospital or within the practice or within the healthcare system on a day-to-day basis. It definitely needs to be a variable based budget. And the other thing that's often flawed with budgets and why you need to use productivity information to help you is you may have the right number of people in that department, but they're actually not the right types of skill sets or people. So your management structure may not be appropriate. So it's important to understand the productivity and the span of control. You may not have the right number of RNs compared to the right number of techs. So also utilizing the targets to help you identify what should the right skill mix be, what should the management structure look like, and what should we use for our staffing levels to optimize our workforce moving into the next year based off of our variable volume.
And I think you bring up a good point about the variable budget compared to the static budget. So much that, some of our clients actually have removed the budget from their ION productivity reports because they want to remove that argument. They want to remove that part of the conversation out of the manager's focus. So if we're not focused on that budget and we're focused on our variable volume adjusted FTEs and those goals, it helps with flexing staff. It helps with meeting those goals across the fiscal year.